Hey, welcome to the channel. I just wanted to say thank you for stopping on in and stopping by. This video is going to be about breaking down Proguides, OP picks. This one particularly is broken in Korea. They have a series where a lot of times they go into and investigate picks that are becoming more popular or prevalent in the meta on the Korean server. A lot of times those picks are good, but I feel Proguides sometimes doesn't completely stick the landing when it comes to explaining why the picks are broken. So then I know you guys have, just like myself, just like my friends, gone into a game. You maybe saw a Proguides video that dropped in the morning. It'll be like, AD Kennen is the bee's knee, the best thing ever. And then you go into your, or Tank Kennen, I guess. It's normally something really, really off meta. And they put that out there. You go into your games later on that day. Somebody's trying to play the thing that was in the video, and then they're screwing up and running it down in your games. I figured I would just do this kind of like a breakdown style just to review and go over and maybe help kind of like, oh, hey, they released this, and here's like a thing. If I can make sense of it, I haven't watched this one yet, but if I can make sense of it, you can make sense of it. And I feel like we can go through and just kind of go through that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit because I don't want it to be like too overpowering, like in your ears. And I am going to start and stop, so this video is going to be longer than the Proguides video itself. So, by the way, my name's King. Feel free to drop a follow or subscribe, whatever you want to do. I appreciate it, and it's very helpful in growing the channel and hopefully getting to a point where I can help more people and bring value to helping them understand the game of League of Legends. Without further ado, let's jump in.
What is up, stoners? Welcome back to our channel. My name is Nathan Ng, and in this video, I'll cover the
Nathan
newest set of
Ng.
Korean builds for patch 11.18.
He has probably the best sense of humor. It's self-deprecating, it's witty, it's good, it's well written. I do like Nathan in these videos. I think their whole crew is actually not bad. Nathan, Kangas, they just got the guy that just won like his 4th college championship. I can't remember his name. Begins with an S though.
We do
He's also
our best to keep track of what's trending and help you guys find the most success in your games. We have builds for every...
I think I'm gonna put it on 2 times speed, just so that way, with all the stop and start, it's not like crazy. So hopefully it's not bad.
roll, so stick around and find out what you should be trying out this patch. Hit that sub button so you never miss out on other content such as this, and let's go ahead and hop right into it. Beginning of the video, let's talk about the top lane build that's picking up some traction. Although Kali top with Ignite isn't anything new to Season 11, this new combination of items is. Let me run you guys through the setup before I explain it. First, run typical runes. Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Legend Tenacity, Coup de Grace, Taste of Blood, Ravenous Hunter, Double...
Okay, so maybe that's too fast. Let's maybe take it back to 1.5 speed.
Adaptive Force, and a defensive stat. The variation comes with the items. You want to build Divine Sunderer, Sorcerer's Shoes, Zanya's Hourglass, Demonic Embrace, Rabadon's Death Cap, and Amarilla.
Okay, so looking at the build, it's effectively it's a similar build. It's a little bit tankier of a build for a Kali, but they're just swapping in the Divine Sunderer. So going Conqueror allows her to have a longer ability, a longer way to be able to fight in the lanes, sustain through damage, and it gives her penetration, because that's a mythic passive on Divine Sunderer. Conqueror allows her to heal and stack adaptive damage, so I would be interested to see whether it stacks her AP or her AD damage depending on what stage of the game it is, because I believe that's how adaptive works. However much damage you've done thus far is where it amplifies. It's kind of like the Camille shield. For those that don't know, Camille's passive shield, when she hits you, she gets a passive shield, either AP damage or AD damage. It is dependent on the amount of damage that you've done over the course of the game. So it's kind of an adaptive effect as well. But with this, it's very heavy on sustain. Conqueror, Taste of Blood, Ravenous Hunter, and then decent health because you get the health from... And okay, yeah, I was gonna say, can you see my mouse? You get the health from Sunderer. You're getting the health from Demonic. Demonic also has a passive, if I remember correctly, where the longer you fight, the more damage you do, I believe. Or the more you get tanky, I can't remember. And then tank or armor from Zanya's, and more health and heal cut from the Morellos. So A lot of people are running the Ignite teleport, but generally I only see that being done by Smurf and high level players. Um, I think mobility is still really, really high valued, and that's why you can get away with it on someone like Akali. She has her E, she has her W, where she gets increased movement speed and in targetability. So it's not like the craziest thing for a champion like her. And then her ult has like two flips. And when you add her whole combo together, you're just a hyper mobile champion. So not having flash isn't the worst thing in the world, and it gives her early laning pressure. And since this is in the top lane, you're necessarily thinking or you're looking at more melee matchups, so she's able to poke harass with her Q going in and out of lane. But we'll see.
This build is a tankier one for Kali, sacrificing very little damage for significant durability. Although it's pretty worth it as it makes her a specialist in extended fights. When burst damage doesn't quite cut it, or when poking down enemies is just proven to be ineffective, you can go ahead and give this build a try. It's also a build that fits certain playstyles better. Those of you that prefer extended fights can make use of the combination of Divine Sunder and Demonic Embrace to quickly shred through tanks. In addition, Divine Sunder provides both armor and magic penetration. Kali's one of the few champions that can effectively utilize both of these stats. I know you guys are here for new builds to help you climb, and I'm all for it. However,
I think the difficult part about that build, this is just the ad break where they're like, join Proguides, you give us the monies, which is whatever. It's a payment scheme, which is fine. But the thing about this Akali build and the playstyle of the matter is there isn't a ton of CDR built into this, so you are really banking on your sustain. You're really banking on your sustain and your ability to play out the team fights, kind of in a, I would say in a elongated pace or an extended fight kind of scenario. If I had to rate this or rank this, I wouldn't put it very high because there's so much damage on the map currently. The meta is slowly changing as they make the changes for Worlds, but because fights, champions in the game have so much damage, fights are over relatively quickly. So I'm not quite sure where this fits now, but maybe in like a month when you're seeing more tanks with the changes that Riot has made over the season, um, it'll be better off in that sense. Continuing.
armor and magic. This is a hyper-aggressive setup that could use to constantly take fights and attempt to even the playing field in harder matchups. Like any top lane Chad, you'll run Ignite instead of Flash. The extra damage and grievous wounds makes it possible to beat out champions like Fiora, Dr. Mundo, and Aatrox who rely heavily on their built-in healing. For runes, run Press the Attack, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, Bow Plating, Shield Bash, Double Adaptive Force, and your choice of a defensive rune. For his items, build Divine Sunder, Defensive Boots, Titanic Hydra, Black Cleaver, Hull Breaker, and Death's Dance.
So Urgot is really, 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 really strong. He's just really clunky to play. So I think what ends up happening with a champion like Urgot, again, you're seeing the Divine Center, the item's overtuned. I think instead of nerfing all the champions around the item, they should just nerf the item itself. Because the champions are in like bad places, but then they get like one item that kind of sends them over the moon. And I think that's what's going on with Urgot. Without Divine Sunderer, I think Urgot would still struggle. Or Urgot would struggle. He's doing well now. The changes to the Titanic item, because the Titanic Hydra, I should say the Hydra item, Ravenous Hydra, Titanic Hydra, losing the actives actually benefited champions like Urgot because he does want to get tanky. Recently played a game where I just played Urgot mid, and I had somewhere in the ballpark of 5k. I think I had like 5k HP, and still did the most damage on my team. But my build was different than this one. I went Ice Frostfire Gauntlet. Well, first I went Titanic Hydra. I built the Titanic Hydra, and then the Black Cleaver, and then I went Frostfire Gauntlet. Got my boots somewhere in between there, and then I got Asterix, and I can't remember my last item. I'd have to look it up. But effectively, I was a full bruiser build, which he's a range bruiser. He's range Juggernaut, and had 5k HP and could still 1v4, 1v3 without any issues or any problems. With this setup of what Proguides has given us, it's again abusing the Sunderer while you can. I think maybe it has like, I don't know. I should go on like Surrender at 20 to see if there's anything in the future to nerf Sunderer. I think they nerfed it by like 5 AD if I were either this patch or the patch coming up or something. But it needs more because it breaks champions, and then Riot proceeds to nerf the champions that it's breaking instead of fixing the item. So you spend an entire season with different champions being really, really strong, and then getting like swapped out because the item they keep on dropping the levels of the champion, but the item is still way over the top.
This patch, Urgot received a minor buff. While it was the simple number change to his Q, this was paired with nerfs to many other top laners. Ignite will help you win tough matchups early on and proceed to build a Divine Sunderer to win a 1v1 as the game progresses. The base stats, Spellblade, and even the after armor penetration contribute to make Urgot a 1v1 god at pretty much all points of the game. Throwing in Hullbreaker also contributes to Urgot's ability to gun down turrets quickly. As a result, you'll end up as a threat in more than one way, forcing the enemy team to either respond to you or quickly lose the game. We put up the build up one more time for you guys, so go ahead and take a look at them and give them a try in your normal games, especially because...
So I guess the breakdown would be understanding that these are good. I think the Urgot one is way better than the Akali one. The Akali one, you'd need like Professor Akali or someone. You need somebody who knows Akali to teach you how to play that style of Akali, because it's very non-intuitive to the way you normally play Akali. Like I said, there's not a lot of CDR in that build, as well as it doesn't have since there isn't a lot of CDR. You're banking on sustain, so you're going to be doing a lot more auto attacking, or you're going to be doing a lot more waiting and weaving. Whereas Akali is more like go in, wait for a second, and then burst everything down and get out. That's kind of her playstyle. A very, very assassin one. So it's going from the assassin playstyle to more of like a bruiser-ish fighter playstyle. I'll say fighter playstyle, not so much bruiser. Because bruisers want to stay in there and make everything unpleasant. Whereas like fighters kind of want to roll everything forward, and assassins just need to get in and get out.
As running Ignite over Flash can feel weird at first. Moving forward, let's go ahead and talk about the jungle. Kicking off the jungle, we have a build for Shyvana. Following her last set of buffs, she's been performing much better, and players have further optimized her build.
If they build some Divine Sunderer on her, it's just going to further prove that the item's broken. That's my worry right now. They're going to be a third build where it's like, build Divine Sunderer. But, just because the item's strong. But it might not be. I'm just hoping that they don't, because we know Divine Sunderer is broken, and I don't think Shyvana's in the best place when it comes to the meta. Hard farming and that 5 camp clear isn't very good since Riot changed the jungle. And that's another one of those things that people will watch this video and completely remove from their mind that like the 5 camp clear, 6 camp clears are at a lower tier than being able to 3 camp clear or 2 camp clear and gank. You know, the rubber banding is back in the jungle, so playing champions that are to your strengths of the meta will work out in your favor 9 times out of 10. But we'll see.
Rather than ending on full AP build, a hybrid build with all sorts of stats has popped up, making Shyvana a hybrid damage bruiser that can still heavily contribute to a team's damage.
It's like a half tank, half on hit.
Per usual, you can run Ignite on Shyvana since your ultimate's low cooldown means that you don't have to be afraid to use it defensively. For runes, run Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, Nimbus Cloak, Water Walking, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and your choice of a defensive rune. The items are going to be Frostfire Gauntlet, Defensive Boots, Nashor's Tooth, Zanya's Hourglass, Wit's End, and Titanic Hydra.
Okay, so it's like an AP bruiser or like a tank bruiser, because right now the current play is to run, I think, what's the name of the rune? Dark Harvest, and just kind of turn into the dragon mode and just be like a firing tank with your E, and you can like 100 to 0 some champions depending on their HP threshold. Other than that, I could see this working. I have been playing the game long enough where AD Shyvana and tank Shyvana are things that I played like back in the day when it came to season 3, season 4, when you were taking jungle items in the top lane. I like a tanky Shyvana. I think Shy makes for a great frontliner and engager. The issue with the AP variant is that burst damage super high, really strong, but it takes you out of the fight. So your team needs to build around that, needs to understand, though she can going in isn't what she wants to do. So
it's a solid purchase on Shyvana. The defensive stats as well as slow.
I would have to play this out to kind of get a better feel for it, because in my head it's like the tankiness from the Frostfire Gauntlet is great, and then you're still doing the on-hit attack speed stuff. This doesn't look like a bad build. I think this build might be better in the top lane against certain melee matchups.
Effect makes Shyvana tough to deal with when she
or something along this line. Like this, that's another thing I think Proguides sometimes like falters on. Like they'll give you a good build, but put it in the wrong place. Like I think this would be great in the top lane. Imagine fighting against other tanks and then still being able to like whittle them down, and then being able to show up to the fights and be the Dragon Cannon. I think
It
that'd be
also
pretty
provides
good.
bonus resistances to pair with the extra health from Frostfire Gauntlet's passive bonus. One of the best part of the builds is, like I mentioned, how you get to build a little bit of everything. Zanya's and Wit's End provides bonus defensive stats, while Nashor's Tooth, Wit's End, and Titanic Hydra provide Shyvana with plenty of attack speed, on-hit effects, and most importantly, hyper damage. The items kind of look gross together, but you know, you can't deny that the combination of magical and physical damage makes it difficult to itemize against, and it's definitely worth giving this build a try as opposed to the one-shot glass cannon build. Zed Jungle.
I'd say yeah. He mentioned how it's difficult to itemize against split damage, and that's true. But there's also like it's also tricky if you um it's kind of like well, like it playing 80 carry. You can play on hit or you can play crit, and it sucks when you do both because you're getting the worst of the two. But if you do one or the other, you like can really just go all in on crit or go all in on hit. With when it comes to damage, like there are certain champions that are built that way. Jax, Kale, like the old Kale, I think you could still build Kale AD. So Jax, Kale, Corky because they changed his passive a couple years ago. Shyvana, I believe all of her E damage is still converted into AP. So like it's AP when you fire it, but when she's as a dragon, but when she's in her human form, the percent health tick damage I think is AP as well. I think her only AD ability, maybe her W's AD. I know her Q is definitely AD because that's what you used to get the double proc for the Blade of the Rune King. But her W I think might be AD, but the bulk share of what she's utilizing her damage for, the E, is AP.
Has received numerous buffs this season, and this patch we found a build for you to try out. For runes, run Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, Transcendence, Water Walking, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, you want to build Lumi's Ghost.
Okay. So Riot's been making some changes to Zed, and Talon and Morgana, which we saw go bonkers when she became like the most meta, fastest clear jungler. Diana, they've done a lot. Garen, I think, Darius, they've done things to make them have the ability to jungle when really just turns them into like mid laners or top laners with like the ability to farm camps really quickly, which isn't bad. But if this is saying play Jungle Zed, I think Jungle Zed is in a weird place because effective like if you look at the build is the same thing that you would build on regular Zed except for the Umbral Glaive. The Umbral Glaive is like new, so and this is for patch 11.18, which is the next patch coming up next Wednesday. So I don't know, and I know they're doing something. I think they're making it cheaper and moving the lethality down a little bit. So you're using it really as like a utility lethality item. But this is basically his mid lane build. Dustblade, you rush Yomu's Dustblade. So would you I guess this is like a pocket pick if you're a Zed one trick, you're a Zed main or Zed player. But this isn't like a I don't play Zed kind of thing. Oh, I can move it. That's super cool. This isn't like a I don't really play Zed kind of thing, but I'm going to like try to first time this. I don't think that's actually worth it because you still have to know how to play Zed. There's not anything. It's not like you're playing like uh I don't know, Unsealed Spellbook Jungle Tank Zed or something. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's still effectively Zed.
Blade, Ionian Boost of Lucidity, Dustblade of Draxar, Umbral Glaive, Edge of Night, and either Serpent's Fang if there's a ton of shields on the enemy team, or Sorelda's Grudge if there's not. When you play Jungle Zed, there's a huge focus on clear speed. With this passive being buffed this patch, you should be able to quickly clear through camps and look for ganks in your downtime. This build is identical to mid lane Zed, and it mostly comes down to adapting to the new role. That covers up the jungle builds, and we put them up on the screen again for you to review.
Basically what I said. It's the same thing as regular Zed. The build is identical except for the Umbral. It's just should know how to play Zed. You have to just know how to play Zed.
Save them, make a note, do what you want, and let's go ahead and move on to the mid lane next.
Mid
Guess who else
lane.
got buffed this patch? Zoe is making her way back into the meta
Zoe
after the
and
massive
Pike.
after E, which is why, right? Nobody likes playing against her. She's definitely somebody that you want to watch out for as she's been a previous terror. Honestly, I'm pretty sure that all of us still have some mild PTSD from getting one shot by a Zoe at some point in our league careers. Anyway, with Zoe's growing popularity, let's talk about the build that players are using. A lot of them opt to take teleport actually. Since Zoe's main focus is poking out enemies or looking for those big one shots, you don't really need Ignite later on into the game. Plus, you can just pick up Ignite that the enemy mid lane uses and use it against them because you're that guy. And
That was funny. Like I said, Nathan Ing is actually really is a good writer, has good comedy. This is an electrocute Zoe, Everfrost. Let's see, Everfrost, Zanya's. Is that the Horizon one? Though, yeah, the one that you do more damage the further range your attack is if it's over like 700 units. Um, Standard AP build, I don't know about the. I mean, they're gonna probably explain why you take the Everfrost. I think the Ludens is better for her wave clear. Zoe doesn't. I mean, her Q can one shot the back line, but it doesn't one shot the front line until a lot later on. And the wave clear is fine. Maybe you're utilizing this in like a use your land your bubble. I don't know. Maybe you like land your bubble, freeze them in place, jump back, crank up a Q, and hit them. But I don't know. Like it's a lot of stacking of CC, but also you need to be far away. Like this is a close range item. This is a far range item. I like to see what Proguides is saying we should be doing with this.
Instead, you can run Teleport for a more stable early to mid game, and you can also use it to potentially help out another lane that's getting ganked or dove under turret. For runes, run Electrocute, Cheap Shot, Zombie Ward, Ravenous Hunter, Biscuit Delivery, Cosmic Insight, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and your choice of a defensive rune. Yes, it's always one of those champions that you want to run attack speed on. It makes the basic attack smoother, and also you can't always just use your Q to farm, especially under turret since you can mess up the entire wave. Attack speed ensures that you can fit in the auto attacks that you need to secure those last hits, as they're pretty important. For your items, build Everfrost, Sorcerer Shoes, Zanya's Hourglass, Void Staff, Horizon Focus, and a Rapid on Stealth Cap. You can make good use of Horizon Focus on Zoe, as you'll often snipe enemies from a long distance away. Since
Can make use of Horizon Focus. Yeah, so that's the long range one. So that's kind of what I said. I was just making sure.
Zoe typically leads with her E, you can set them up for a damage boost for the item's effect, Hypershot, making her Q even more deadly. Everfrost is a popular purchase because of its versatility. You can use it to either peel for yourself or lock down enemies and guarantee that you can land an E afterwards.
So okay, so you're using the Everfrost more defensively. I know he's explaining that you can use it both ways, which you can, but primarily because of the health and then the ability to lock down targets that might have jumped on top of you, like assassins or fighters or that are chasing you down. You're able to cast that out.
Alternatively, you can use it after your E to follow up for a root, locking in targets in place for your team to handle. Before we move forward, let's go ahead and ask our question of the day. Which item is your favorite and why? My favorite item right now has gotta be the Collector. It's really satisfying to execute enemies with it, and that way I can secure the kills for myself instead of getting my teammates fed. You gotta play a little bit selfishly sometimes. Let me know your answers in the comments down below. Now, let's go ahead and continue on with those builds. So,
Down in the comments, if you've made it this far into the video, drop your favorite item also. That'd be really dope to learn that or hear that, and then maybe have a discussion as to why you like it, or what you think could make an item better or an item that you used to like. I don't know. That seems kind of cool.
Pyke mid has made his way back into the meta following buffs to Yumu's Ghostblade. While Pyke has received many changes to push him out of the mid lane, there's always somebody out there on the server that will still try to make him work. Since Yumu's is still a good item, Pyke has been making a killing in Korean solo queue, running around the map and ruining plenty of enemy players' day.
I guess what I should say is one of the things that's actually, I think, going to do well is the fact that Yomu's got that buff. And with Yomu's buff, rushing it is just like a power play. Rushing Yomu's is effectively just a power play. You can rush Yomu's, you'll be able to get the movement speed, the ability haste, and the lethality and damage. It's great. It's a great first item on any assassin. Kiana, Zed, Pyke, Talon. If you're an ability-based assassin, make it happen. Kind of a rhyme there. Wasn't trying to.
The sheer mobility alone has made Pyke a notable threat once again. A single roam's impact can go ahead and potentially win that game. For runes, run Hail of Blades, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Ultimate Hunter, Presence of Mind, Good de Grace, Double Adaptive Force, and your choice of a defensive rune. For his items, build Duskblade, Ionian Boots of Lucidity, Yumu's Ghostblade, Edge of Night, Death Stance.
Well, I guess it's because it was Jungle Zed. Because in my head, I'm like, Pyke's best item until they buffed Yomu's was the lethality item that allows you to see wards, which was on Zed's that I can't remember the name of for the life of me right now. It's okay. But you guys know what I'm talking about. So it's interesting that they're doing this build without that item, and they're probably swapping it out for the Death's Dance. I think Death's Dance just gives Pyke a little bit more survivability since his passive doesn't allow him to actually build health.
And a Guardian Angel. We've thrown up the builds up on the screen again, so make sure you check those out. Next up is the bottom lane. There are a few bottom lane builds that we'll be wrapping up the video with, but let's go ahead and start one for Quinn. Quinn? Really? Okay, yeah, okay, Quinn, bottom lane. Okay, what's going on here? What is she doing in the duo lane? Hey, listen, I'm just here to tell you what the analysts think. Although she sports a low play rate,
I'm gonna say it. I'm saying it. Quinn is by far one of the most broken 80 carries in the game, bar none. Period. She has everything that you need. She has the sustain damage with the W max. She has the burst damage with the Q max. She has mobility for roaming mobility. And then she has interplay mobility, being able to vault or kick off of opponents, which allows her to hop over walls or dodge skill shots or interrupt people's tumbles or dashes and things of that nature. When it comes to playing AD carry, that's why you see her in the top lane so much. She bullies so hard. She does have a short range. I think it's like 525 or 500 even, which makes her susceptible to poke from like a Caitlyn or a Philios. But most, maybe a Vars. I think Vars might have a 600 or no, I think Vars is 550. I can't remember. Um, but most AD carries, she's going to absolutely body. Her blind is insane and effectively makes it so an AD carry can't see in front of their like beyond their hand kind of thing. So let's see what Proguides says.
Players are gradually figuring out that she doesn't do so poorly in the bottom lane. Her burst damage pairs well with aggressive supports and enchanters alike, regardless of whether she's committed to bursting down the enemy.
Oh no, Hail of Blades. Ill. What is this build? Okay.
Go.
All right, here's my problem with the build. So I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to say Quinn should be playing like a quick in and out kind of play style. So you want to probably like auto E, auto with the rapid amount of attack speed that you're going to end up getting from Hail Blades, and the E slows. So if you auto to start it, kick off of them since your auto range and your E range are the same. And I believe Hail Blades has something that if you have a auto attack reset, you still get to keep the Hail Blades or something like that. I know they basically made it for Jax, but Jax doesn't even use Hail Blades. But regardless, you kick off of them, they're slowed, you get the attack speed versus you're able to get the shot. I personally think press the attack is still better, or electrocute, and then you build some lethality. But again, this is their video. We're just doing some analyzation, and I'm trying to kind of get an idea of where they're going. And the other thing is, go Kraken. Like, go Kraken. Especially, like I said, now this is okay with the amount of damage that's out there. In like a month, when everyone that's in the lower elos finally like catches up and starts playing this, you're going to want to be playing Kraken to be able to get through the Sejuanis, the Trundles, the Amumu, because Amumu just got buffed. He's broken as all get out, right? Maokai's going to be coming back. I think they're probably going to throw him another buff because he's just not where they want. Also, enchanters, right? With all the shielding and peeling, you're going to want something that's going to be able to cut through that, and that true damage, well, at least it won't cut through in the same sense because shields are shields and they're kind of broken in this game, but it's just going to be overall a better experience. Let's keep on going.
Or playing it slow with occasional explosive trade, Quinn is a pretty versatile pick.
And the collector, I think.
The real weakness she has is her slightly below average attack range of 525. Honestly though, I'm
525. I thought it was 500.
not really sure that's bad enough, as a 25 range advantage isn't as noticeable as a 50 or more. 4 runes: use Hail of Blades, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, Presence of Mind, Legend Alacrity, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and your choice of a defensive rune.
And see, I think the reason why Proguides needs either to continue or to do a little bit more, a little bit better, is for stuff like this, where they give you what you should be taking, but they don't give you like a why you should be taking it. Like, why are you taking these? The Sudden Impact one is good because her kick, you get free lethality. That's broken, right? But everything else, they're not really going into detail as to why you should be doing it. They're explaining what they do. So there's a lot more of what instead of why. And I think they could benefit their viewers and go a little bit more into details about why certain things are strong and why they should be played and how sometimes, like how to effectively play this style. Because a Caitlyn player or a Vayne player isn't playing Quinn because Quinn is normally relegated to the top lane.
Next up are the items. You'll build Immortal Shield Bow, the Collector, Infinity Edge, either Immortal Reminder for the healing reduction, or Bloodthirster if you don't need it, and then finally a Guardian Angel. The Collector is a solid purchase on Quinn at all points of the game, as the execute easily comes in clutch, especially since Quinn players play similarly to Assassins at times. The bottom lane meta is wild right now, and it's only getting wilder since Amumu is being played as a support right now. Thinking about the changes that they gave him, it's not such a big surprise actually. He now has 2 charges of Bandage Toss, and that means 2 stuns. That is a lot of utility, and the increased early game damage output comes as a huge surprise to players. I'm surprised that in previous patches, we've seen a support Amumu and thought to ourselves, wow.
I mean, support Moon was good. Nothing wrong with this. I think it's slept on. It's underrated. But so are a ton of other picks. Support Moon was great.
What a free win. Except now, it's wow. What a free win for you. He can now stun you twice, and now he can fall victim to an unexpected death after 2 stuns followed up by his ultimate. 4 runes you want to run Aftershock, Fond of Life, Bone Plating, Unflinching, Cheap Shot, Ultimate Hunter, Ability Haste, and 2 defensive runes.
Effectively, a support Mumu was good beforehand. I know he's memeing about it was a free win for your team, and now it's a free win for the enemy team. But it was good beforehand. Like, Amumu's level of lockdown with his Q and his ultimate His ultimate's always been game changing. Locking down an entire team or half of a team is spectacular. Uh, he just doesn't get a lot of value out of the rest of his kit when he's playing the support role.
For his items, build Relic Shield, Defensive Boots, Sunfire Aegis, Anathema's Chains, Thornmail or Abyssal Mask, and then a Gargoyle Stoneplate. Thornmail is your purchase if you need the healing reduction, but otherwise you just want an Abyssal Mask to increase the damage enemies take after you lock them down.
Don't worry, you're gonna see AP, full AP Amumu support at some point with a double Q and being able to try to burst people down with a Q alt Q. That's the combo. Q. It's not Q alt because that gives way too much time for people to get away. You Q. There's I think a 1.5 second stun. You alt, which is I think a 2 second stun, or maybe it scales, and then you Q again, and they're basically stuck in place for almost like 4 seconds. It's insane. Like you thought Morgana binding was long?
Next up, we have a combo lane that we want to talk about. Although an odd pair, Neeko and Rel are popping off as a duo. These two, when paired together, have an oppressive stun lock and enough damage to kill, or at least almost kill their target if they're not running Summoner Cleanse. And they probably will not be. Regardless of who starts off the chain, either Rel or Neeko can follow up with their own crowd control, leaving their poor target unable to play the game. After level 6, the kill pressure is immense as you can factor in Neeko's ultimate as well as a magnetic pull from Rel's. Not only does the CC chain become more impressive, but the dual lane gains a huge damage spike after getting access to their ultimates. And now let's go ahead and talk about their builds. Neeko's runes are electrocute, cheap.
Okay, so this is an all-in kill lane. So this is something that you definitely do with your this is what you do when you have like a duo. Basically, when you have your duo and you're able to coordinate your engages, Rel is still strong. She just has fallen to a lower tier under in like pro play and high elo, but she's still super strong, just for the level of committed lockdown that she provides. And Neeko can provide the same thing. Imagine just layering the CC. Rel stuns. Rel does her knock up flip or her knock up with her when she dismounts, or when she dismounts, and then Neeko has her E, which elongates its stun duration through minions, and then her ultimate which also has a lockdown. You're just able to keep people in place for a very, very long time. And playing Neeko in a full AP capacity, you're still doing a ton of damage, and her shield is like ginormous when she ults. So this isn't a bad lane. I feel like they could have done a video on just this bot lane, or a video on do a video on like 4 like unpredictable bot lanes or something, like uncommon, I guess that's what I'm looking for. 4 uncommon bot lanes where then boom, you're able to understand, have way longer segments on why, because this is a segment that's being shared. This is what, 9 minutes to 10 minutes. This is literally about a minute of explaining this and breaking this down, when this by itself could be a 4-minute, 5-minute segment explaining the Rel Neeko dynamics so that you get more value out of it. Because I don't think this is a bad lane. I think it's very unique. It's very different. Playing it would be very hard. Playing with it would be difficult too, because that's one of the things that they'll do. They'll give you all these builds and all these off-meta champions and things like that, but they don't explain that, like, hey, your teammates are also going to struggle playing with this off-meta stuff. But regardless, I do think this is good. Just needs to be hashed out.
Deep Shot, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Mana Flow Band, Scorch, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and your choice of a defensive rune. For her items, build Hexic Rockabill, Sorcerer Shoes, Horizon Focus, Zanya's Hourglass, Void Staff, and Rabadon's Death Cap. Cheap Shot honestly isn't even fair with this dual lane, since your opponent will almost always be CC'd by something when you're taking trades with them. Rel runs Aftershock, Font of Life, Bone Plating, Unflinching, Hexic Flash Traption, Cosmic Insight, Ability Haze, Armor, and your choice of a defensive rune. For items, build the Lock of Iron Solari, Defensive Boots, Thornmail, Knight's Vow, and a Gargoyle Stone.
Yeah, effectively, it's just like it's a go in, keep them locked in, CC them until they effectively die, and ride out into the sunset. And then the rest of it is just the outro, looking for things. So hopefully, watching this, you were able to learn a little bit, or hopefully I explained it well. A lot of times my friends and we see these builds in our games, as well as I do have some friends that'll just literally try to run these builds or these setups or these teams and things like that. And I don't know, we discuss it, so I figured we talk about it. We talk about it on stream if you've made it this far, because now this video is probably like half an hour long. But if you've made it this far, feel free to drop by the stream. I stream every uh, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday at twitch.tv/call_me king. Again, that's twitch.tv/call_me king. Hopefully, if you like this video, sure, it's a longer form video because again, these are things that they could go way more into, but they're trying to just meet that like 10-minute cap for YouTube purposes. And I think that there's hopefully this brings some sort of, I don't know, understanding, value. Really, I just want to bring like value to people who do watch these or watch this video or watch the videos that I'm going to be making and stuff like that. So that way they get a better understanding, hopefully do better in their games. I love theory crafting. I love talking about the game. So feel free to drop by, drop a follow, like, comment, whatever you want to do. Join the Discord. Um, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. It's your boy. Nights out.